So now we are jumping towards the data validation, and essentially this is extremely powerful tool for a number of reasons. Number one, you can create a drop-down list from the validation data validation. You can understand if the specific category of data type of the data is what expected to be in the particular range. So essentially, if you have something which is a date versus a string, you can restrict a number of characters that you want. You can add the checkboxes. You can utilize again in combination with other formulas. Um, this is exciting. This is exciting, and the key part, which I really want to emphasize, is that the pro tip is use the same principle for conditional formatting and for the data validation, which means that essentially write down the formula in advance, which could be a much better way, and just try to understand which, based on the statement, conditions are whether conditions are true or false. So let's start with a simple one. So let's say I want to create a drop-down menu, and the drop-down menu is going to be on the basis of the product. I want to know which products are there. So all I need to do right now is go to here to data validation, add a new rule. We know that apply to a range, so particularly I want the cell. I'm just going to quickly go change the display style, you can see. And then from the drop down, we have a range which we want, which means that we will gather the data from the column D, which corresponds to the product. Then I want to press Control Shift down, press OK, and as you can see, all our products have been now added. Again, just gonna go quickly to error. Fine. Okay, all good. So what it means is that we essentially have created a drop-down menu on the basis of the column D of the contents of the values which are present in column D. And again, this is a string characteristics, which means that this is the number. This is just purely let's put in other words, it's a word. And essentially, it's when you create a drop-down menu, it kind of doesn't feel much, but essentially you'll see how much you actually can do with this drop down, because then we'll soon, the next exercises right now, we're going to apply the sum and the filters as well. So the date range, what if, and this is where the interesting part, for example, if you want to validate, if you want to make sure that, for example, with this column D, we only have the values between, let's say you're analyzing the sales data for the year 2024, and you want just to keep this for 2024. So it's very simple to do, right? Just to analyze if there is something which is not right with this. So maybe I can start by writing January 1st of January 2024 and 31st December 2024, which is what our year is. So all I need to do right now is I'm going to go to my date column, column C. Again, this is the C5. Control Shift down. I'll select this column. I'm going to add the new rule for the data validation. And the key part for me right now is to select date is between. And when I do this, there is a value of the formula, which means that all we need to do right now is to reference the cells, which is in column M and M5 and M6. So as typically I do for the good purpose, I do like to make sure we are completely locking these values so they don't start running from us. M6 and press done. So and then the result is, you can see right now that essentially it will give us these red triangles on the right top corner, which means that there is something wrong with the data here. And the data means it just shows us that inputs must be between these two lines, between 1st of January 2024 and 31st December 2024. And this is where exactly it's incorrect, and this is something that we need to be taken into consideration. So that's how simple it is actually to make sure that we have the right data, which means that maybe there is an error here, or maybe we just need to change to 2024 here. And once we change for 2024 here, everything else appears quite good and nice. So obviously we do have some formatting issues which we can add and correct, but nevertheless, when it comes to the actual data, right now the data is completely fine and it's valid for this range. At the same time, for example, let's check if the month, if we want for some reason the month, essentially the abbreviation for the month is going to be in 3 characters, and we want to restrict the length of the text which is present in that column. So we're going to be using, and for this, this is where it's much easier actually to use the function in particular cell and then just copy, apply the same principles as we do for the continuous formatting. So I'm going to press enter, and then I'll put the formula len, length of a string, which is a length. Open the brackets, and I really want to make sure I'll make sure that I refer to this text, right, to this cell B5. All I then need to do is then I will lock the column. If I'll close, for example, right now, it will tell me that January has 7 characters. However, if I'll start adding the conditional symbols such as greater or less than, essentially, I can then, or equals, I can then really point out towards whether the data has the correct length. So for example, if I'll add, so it's less than or equals to 3, if I'll press enter now, it will give me false because January contains 7, it does not contain 3. If I'll say does January is 7 less than or equals to 7, yes, correct. So that's how essentially we want to ensure, and we can see if the restricted text length is applicable. So how do we do with data validation right now? So it's the same thing. Right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this formula, Control C. I will go to the rule, add a rule, and then for the validation range, I will select my range of the month. I'm going to press OK, and then I'm going to go up, and then from the drop down, I'll use the custom formula is, and then all I need to do is press Control V. So what it means is that I will paste this formula, which is going to be applied to the whole range. Press done, and now you can see again the red triangles, which means that something is wrong. And this is where, because this input in the cell B5 is greater than 3 characters, it'll tell us that the cell's content violated its validation row. So that's how useful it is. So you can actually see them, and then you can actually change if there is something that is not right. So if you change to January here, and February here, everything is going to be fine. So that's how we can actually play around this. So what I will do right now is that have a look at this, and then in the next video we're actually going to be doing something more fun, which we're going to be using a bit of a data validation plus the sum function checkboxes and data validation plus filters.